The rain that night was heavy, like the sky itself was grieving. Amina stood at the window of their one-room apartment, her newborn swaddled to her chest. The wind howled through the cracked panes. Kola had gone out 4 hours ago to buy baby milk, but hadn't returned. His phone was off. No messages. No sign. She paced the room barefoot, worry bubbling under her skin. The power was out, and the candle on the stool danced with every gust. In the corner, water dripped from a leaking ceiling onto the faded cement floor. Their child stirred. Amina rocked gently, whispering a lullaby through trembling lips. Kola wasn't perfect. He was moody, proud, too proud for their poverty. But he had loved her, at least he said so. And when she gave birth 2 weeks ago, he had cried holding their baby boy. "We'll name him Farouk," he whispered, "because he will rule his world." But now he was gone. By morning, the neighbors had heard. A few helped her search bus parks, nearby hospitals, even police stations. Nothing. His family refused her calls. Days turned into weeks. One afternoon, his elder brother finally called her back. "Forget him," he said coldly. "Kola is dead to us. He made his choice." "Choice?" Amina asked, barely breathing. "What do you mean?" Click. The line went dead. Grief had no body to mourn. No burial. Just silence. Amina had no parents left. Only her aunt in Ilorin who sent occasional money. But she stayed in Lagos. She wasn't ready to leave. She wanted answers. She wanted Kola to walk through the door and explain, even if it was a lie. But months passed. Her hair thinned. She lost weight. Her child grew. She sold her phone, then her clothes, then her wedding ring. The church helped with food sometimes. So did the mosque. Pain didn't care what name you called God. Eventually, she stopped waiting. She moved into a small compound in Ikorodu and began selling puff-puff on the roadside. Her baby strapped to her back, flour dust on her palms, and hope buried deep where no one could touch it. Years went by, until one evening, as she returned from the market, her son tugged her hand and pointed at a billboard by the junction. "Mama, that man looked like Daddy." She turned, her heart slowing. There he was, in full color, smiling in a 3-piece suit beside a woman who looked dipped in diamonds. Engagement ceremony. Kola Bakare and Ifeoluwa Omateo. "You are cordially invited." Amina's knees buckled. She gripped her son's shoulder and stared at the sign until her hands turned cold. The man she mourned. The man she waited for. The man who vanished into the night was alive and getting married. But that wasn't what made her chest tighten. It was the sentence at the bottom of the poster. Groom widower, survived by his late wife, Amina Bakare. Amina's lips parted. She was alive, but he had already buried her. And now she would return not as a memory, but as a storm. Amina didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window of her one-room flat, her chin resting on her knees, eyes fixed on nothing. Outside, the street dogs barked. A generator hummed from a nearby compound. Her son, Farouk, lay curled beside her, unaware that the foundation of his little world had cracked wide open. She kept replaying the image in her mind. Kola's face, smiling like he had no past, no guilt, no child, no wife, widower. She almost laughed. The sound came out dry, bitter. He had erased her. The next morning, she folded her wrapper tightly around her waist, tied her headscarf, and made her way to the internet cafe in town. The attendant, a young man with headphones around his neck, barely looked up. "I want to browse," she said, trying to sound casual. He nodded toward a corner system. Amina typed his name slowly. Kola Bakare. Dozens of articles popped up. Tech entrepreneur Kola Bakare set to marry billionaire heiress Ifeoluwa Omateo this Sunday at Grand Orchid Hotel. Billionaire heiress? Amina blinked. She read on, her pulse rising. The bride was the only daughter of Chief Omateo, an oil magnate with political ties. Kola had somehow climbed out of their shared poverty and into Lagos high society. And he had done it by stepping on her grave. Amina printed one of the articles, folded it neatly, and tucked it into her bag. She didn't know her next move yet, but she knew she wouldn't stay silent. Not again. By afternoon, she was knocking at a weathered door in K2. "Auntie Moreo?" she called softly. Her aunt opened the door slowly, her expression guarded until she saw who it was. Then her eyes widened. "Amina, I need your help," Amina said. They sat inside, and Amina poured everything out. The disappearance, the billboard, the articles. Moreo listened without interrupting, her face hardening. "That boy always had snake blood," she said finally. "But to say you're dead?" Amina pulled out the printed wedding article and unfolded it on the table. "I want to go there," she said. "To the wedding." Moreo's brows lifted. "You want to scatter the ceremony?" Amina looked down at her hands, rough from frying puff-puff, scarred from carrying too much for too long. "I want to stand in front of him, in front of her, in front of everybody, and tell the truth." Moreo was silent. Then she stood and walked to the back room. When she returned, she held out a small envelope. "Take this. Use it to get a dress. And your hair done. If you're going to show up, you'll look like a woman he couldn't kill with lies." Amina took the envelope, her throat tight. She didn't have a plan. Not yet. But she had something stronger. A name. A voice. And a secret Kola didn't know was coming. Because before he vanished, she had done something. Something small, something legal, something buried. And if that paper still existed, it would turn his wedding into a courtroom. The Grand Orchid Hotel sparkled like a palace carved from gold. Outside, guests arrived in convoys of black jeeps, their drivers rushing to open doors. Women floated past in glittering gowns. Men adjusted their agbatas, laughing into their phones. Photographers clicked non-stop, capturing wealth, power, and perfection. But behind the tinted windows of a kiki parked across the street, Amina sat quietly. She wore a deep emerald green gown, simple, elegant. Her hair was in soft curls, her makeup light but deliberate. Her heart thudded like thunder in her chest. She could hear the noise from inside the hall. Music, laughter, a man on the mic shouting instructions. The wedding had begun. She reached into her bag and pulled out the white envelope. It was yellowed now, but the seal was still there. The name of a law firm from years ago. Kola didn't know she had done it. A few weeks before he disappeared, when they were still scraping for rent, she had signed a joint property agreement with him. A document listing her as a co-founder of his tech startup. It was his idea, meant to secure a small grant from a Women in Tech initiative. But she had insisted the paperwork reflect her contribution, however small. He had agreed, reluctantly, and now that same document listed her, Amina Bakr, as an original legal stakeholder. His fortune wasn't entirely his. And according to this paper, she was very much alive. She stepped out of the kiki, legs shaking. Her cousin Teo, dressed in plain black, met her by the gate. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. Amina nodded once. Inside, the hall looked like a movie. White roses climbed up glass pillars. A massive chandelier dripped crystals from the ceiling. At the far end, under a golden arch, stood the groom, Kola. Amina froze. It was him. Older, cleaner, richer, but still him. Beside him stood Ifeoluwa, radiant in lace and diamonds, unaware that the man beside her had built his new life on a grave that was never real. The officiant raised a hand. The music dimmed. The crowd silenced. "We are gathered here today." Amina moved. Step by step, her heels clicked against the marble. People turned slowly, confused. Kola's smile faltered. She was halfway down the aisle when he saw her. His face drained of color. The mic slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a thud. Gasps rippled through the hall. "Who is that?" someone whispered. The bride turned, frowning. Kola took a step back, his mouth opening but no sound coming out. Amina stopped just feet away from the altar, eyes locked on him. The room held its breath. "I'm Amina Bakr," she said loudly. "The woman you told the world was dead." The crowd erupted, but Amina raised her voice above the chaos. "And I didn't just come to stop this wedding." She pulled the document from her bag, holding it high. "I came to reclaim what was mine." because today the dead came back with proof. For a moment, it was as if the entire room stopped breathing. Then noise exploded like a bomb. Guests rose from their seats. Phones came out. Whispers turned into shouts. The MC dropped his cue cards. A bridesmaid fainted. Ifialua turned toward Kola, confusion turning to horror. What is she saying? Who is she? Kola didn't answer. He just stared at Amina like she was a ghost. A living, breathing consequence. I said I'm his wife. Amina shouted, her voice sharp with truth. He left me and our child. He told the world I was dead. But I didn't die. I survived. Gasps echoed through the marble walls. Is this true? Someone near the front asked. Ifialua spun on Kola, her voice sharp and rising. Kola, answer her. Is she lying? Kola tried to gather himself. She's disturbed. She's trying to ruin this day. That marriage was years ago. There was no proof she was still alive. Amina cut in, walking to the stage. No proof. She handed the document to the event manager, who read the header aloud. Bakr and Company. Startup Ownership Agreement. Kola Bakr and Amina Bakr. The lawyer beside Chief Omateo stood up quickly, snatching the paper. This is legal, he muttered. It's dated. It predates his company's first investment. The chief stood up slowly. His face was stone. Kola? Is this true? Ifialua stared at Kola, betrayal thick in her voice. You said she died. In childbirth. Kola looked cornered. She disappeared. I searched. Lies. Amina snapped. You left. You told your family I was dead. You told the media you were a widower. And you were about to marry another woman while your son, your own blood, sells plantain chips on the roadside. Another wave of gasps. People were recording now. Tweets were already flying. The hashtag was forming. Kola stepped forward, lowering his voice. Amina, let's talk outside. She laughed bitterly. Now you want to talk? Now that your fairy tale is unraveling. Chief Omateo raised his hand, silencing the crowd. There will be no wedding today. Ifialua's eyes brimmed with tears. You used me, my family, my money. You lied to me. Kola reached for her, but she backed away. Security began to move forward, sensing a public relations disaster in motion. Paparazzi had somehow gotten in. Camera flashes popped. The entire scene was being live-streamed on 3 different channels. Amina stepped down from the stage, her chin raised high. She had done it. She had broken the lie. But as she turned toward the exit, a hand caught her wrist gently. It was Chief Omateo. Wait, he said, voice low. You said, you have a child? Amina turned slowly, surprised. Yes, a boy. He's 5. The chief's eyes narrowed. Does he look like Kola? Amina blinked. Exactly. Chief Omateo looked toward his daughter, then back at Amina. Then we need to talk. In private. Because there was more to this wedding than anyone knew. The private lounge of the Grand Orchid felt too quiet. Far below, the ballroom was still buzzing. Guests whispering, reporters gathering sound bites, security locking down the venue. But up here, Amina sat across from Chief Omateo, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her cousin Teo stood by the door, watching. Kola had been escorted out by the hotel staff. Ifialua was nowhere in sight. The chief leaned forward, resting his elbows on the glass table. His voice was deep, measured. You said the boy is 5. Amina nodded. His name is Farouk. Do you have a photo? She reached into her purse and pulled out an old picture. Farouk in his school uniform, smiling, a missing front tooth and a wide grin. She handed it to him silently. Chief Omateo stared at it for a long time. Then, without looking up, he said, He has my grandson's eyes. Amina froze. What? Chief finally looked up. You think I didn't do my homework before approving this wedding? Kola may have fooled the world, but not me. I knew there were holes in his past. I just didn't know how deep they ran. He handed the photo back gently. 2 weeks ago, he continued, I had my lawyer dig into Cola's background. His rise was too fast, too clean. And then I found whispers about a missing wife, a child, something buried. But I didn't find you. He hid you well. So why approve the wedding? Amina asked, voice tight with suspicion. He smiled faintly. Because sometimes, the trap must be set fully before the rat walks in. Amina's breath caught. I knew he was hiding something, the chief said. But I didn't know he had a son. That changes everything. How? Chief Omateo stood and walked to the window, gazing down at the fading sunset. I'm dying, he said calmly. Pancreatic cancer. My time is short. I was hoping Cola would be a worthy successor, for the business, for my daughter. But he's a coward and a liar. The legacy I built, he doesn't deserve it. Amina stood slowly. What do you want from me? He turned. Nothing, he said. But I want to give something to you, to Farouk. That boy carries my blood now through Cola. And I'll be damned if the empire I built goes to a man who tried to erase his own child. He handed her a small envelope. Inside, she saw a legal document, an amendment to a trust. Farouk Omateo Bakr. It read. From today, the chief said, he is the heir. Amina's hands trembled. I don't know what to say. Say nothing, chief replied. Just raise him well, and keep him far from his father's shadow. A knock came at the door. It was the hotel manager. Ma'am, he said, eyes wide. There's a problem. Amina stepped out quickly, heart racing. Downstairs, in front of the hotel, Cola was holding a microphone. And he wasn't alone. He had brought someone with him. A woman, a lawyer, and a folder. Amina's heels clicked hard against the marble floor as she descended the stairs, her mind racing. Cola stood outside the hotel entrance, holding a microphone like a man possessed. A small crowd had formed, reporters, curious guests, some wedding staff. Cameras were rolling. He knew it. He wanted it. The woman beside him wore a sharp navy suit and dark sunglasses. She clutched a folder like a sword. When Amina stepped outside, Cola's eyes lit up with false confidence. There she is, he said, voice booming. The woman who crashed my wedding with lies. The crowd murmured. I tried to keep this private, he continued. But since she wants a public drama, let's do it here. Amina said nothing. She crossed her arms, eyes on the folder. This, Cola said, waving toward the lawyer, is Barrister Ronka Dedaba, and in her hand is a divorce certificate, filed 4 years ago, after Amina abandoned me and disappeared. Gasped. She's no victim, he added, pacing now. She left our home, left me with debt, stress, trauma. I moved on. She was declared missing by the police, and I followed the legal process. He gestured to Ronk, who opened the folder and held up a stamped paper. The cameras zoomed in. Amina stayed calm. She took a deep breath, then stepped forward. Is that your signature, Cola? She asked, pointing to the document. Yes, he shouted. Filed through my lawyer. I did what I had to do. Amina smiled. She pulled a second paper from her bag, an official letter with a red seal. Well, here's the problem. That divorce certificate, it was dismissed because it was based on fraud. You declared me dead to get it approved. But the moment I was found alive 2 years ago, the court reversed it. You were notified. Cola blinked. What? Amina's voice rang out. Check page 2 of your lawyer's own copy. The judge's note is there. Barrister Ronk flipped the document. Her face changed instantly. Cola grabbed it, scanning quickly. Then he froze. No, that's not possible. It is, Amina said louder. And it means we're still legally married. Which means, you committed attempted bigamy today. The press went wild. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. One man yelled, Bigamy? That's a criminal offense. A black car pulled up. Chief Omateo stepped out, surrounded by 2 stern-faced men in suits. He walked straight to Cola, paused, and looked him over slowly. I welcomed you into my family, he said. I trusted you, and you tried to bring shame to my house. He turned to one of the men. Barrister Femi, File the charges. Immediately. Yes, sir. Cola's face crumpled. You can't do this. I was going to make everything right. Chief Omateo cut him off. You had your chance. You threw it away. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Cola stepped back as the officers arrived. Wait, Amina, please. She met his eyes, steady, unblinking. You buried me once, Cola, but I rose. And now, everything you tried to build on my grave will crumble. They led him away. The crowd parted. Amina stood at the center, strong, unshaken. Behind her, Farouk ran up with Teo, arms wide. Mummy, Mummy, you did it. She scooped him up, holding him close, eyes misting. Later that evening, in her modest apartment, Amina sat quietly on the balcony, Farouk asleep beside her. The wind was soft. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Chief Omateo. Ifeoluwa is safe. She sends her thanks. I will honor my promise. The trust is secure. Amina smiled. She had walked through fire. Now she was finally free. Not just from Cola, but from silence, from fear, and from the lie that she ever needed saving. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next video.